Welcome to the Butterfly Effect. I'm Chris Horner. This is stage 3 of Volta a Catalunya. Now 160 kilometers thereabouts, talking about 100 miles. Solid day of racing because they're going to go up over 3 big climbs. Each of the climbs at 9 kilometers, 20 kilometers, and 12 kilometers, each of them are right around, they're having them at about 4.5%. But honestly, they're much steeper than that in sections. They're just not, the climb's just not as long as you're seeing in the profile. Even the last climb, La Molina, when we're talking about 12.5 kilometers, and they're rating it at around 4%, it's really much steeper than that. I remember doing this race in 2014. It was the last race I did for Lampre before I went back to Italy and got hit in the tunnel, and of course, end up missing a lot of the season there, not making it back until I did Tour of Slovenia and Tour de France. So this last climb I remember pretty vividly because it was the last race I'd ever done here at Catalunya. And it was a climb that when you look at the profile, it looks steady and pretty smooth and even, and it doesn't look that complicated. And what the difficultness about this climb comes in the middle part, and of course at the finish it's really steep, but it has these sections where the road is just so wide and the speeds are so fast that you can get a draft. And I remember in 2014, much like today, it was really a lot of times curb to curb and no one team wanting to take control on this finish of this stage 3 here at Catalunya. Now, let's get into the racing, because with 70 kilometers to go, as soon as the cameras come on, we see Tom Dumoulin, and he's at the medical car. He'll drop out pretty soon thereafter, hop off the bike, and that'll be the end of his Catalunya here on stage 3. Now, right after that, 1 kilometer later, we're going to see Michael Matthews, and Michael Matthews is clearly sick on the bike, so Bike Exchange are having this sickness problem spread through their team that must have started happening last night. So Movistar's on the front. They're setting a good pace. The break of 4 up there. Solid riders. Simone Petilli from Intermarché. Casper Pedersen from DSM. Okamika from Burgos BH. We'll see him often in breakaways throughout this early part of the season of races. And then there's the Euskaltel-Euskadi rider Mikel Vizcarra. This guy is always in breakaways. You see his name often, and so this group of 4 has about a 5-minute max lead, but then Movistar start getting on the front, and they're going to bring this gap down really fast to 3.5 minutes, and then they're going to let off the gas when we start going through the feed zone. We'll see the field, they'll start to go wide, and they'll stay off the gas until the next Category 1 climb starts, which will be the second big climb of today's stage. And then Movistar hop back on the front, start setting some easy tempo. Now you'll see it really strung out there at the front with Movistar on the front of the peloton, but how you know it's not going really hard, when we look at the back of the peloton, the back is wide and going more curb to curb. Anytime you want to really know how fast the peloton's going, you always look at the back of the peloton, and that will tell you. When it's really strung out, you know the speeds have to be pretty decent, if not extremely fast, if the back is spread out. Up front, it could be spread out, it could be curb to curb, it could be 2x2, 3x3, whatever you want to pick of a combination, and it doesn't necessarily mean it's going fast or slow, but when you look at the back, and the back is curb to curb, you know most likely the pace isn't blazing. So when Movistar is going up this climb, they're setting a smooth, steady tempo, and the gap up to the 4 leaders is dropping a little bit. And now we'll see Bora Hansgrohe hop on the front, and now we start to see that gap drop down. By the summit, it's Jumbo-Visma going over the summit of this Category 1 climb, and they're all over the front trying to get to the lead of the first curves going into the descent so that they can keep their rider safe and put them in a perfect position to start the last climb of today's stage and keep them. Remember, it's been a stressful stage 1 and stage 2. So when we're seeing Rowan Dennis on the front here leading his teammate Steven Kruijswijk down the descent, I think it's more just to make sure they get to the bottom safe. But Jumbo-Visma has to do some big efforts here in order to keep Steven Kruijswijk and Sam Oomen in good position. Now they'll bomb down the descent, and we'll see the breakaway. They're doing 77 kilometers an hour down this descent. And it's a kind of a treacherous descent with a little bit of moisture and a lot of cracks in the road. Now for the front group of 4, this isn't much of a problem, but when we go back to the peloton and they start getting 4, 5, and 6 wide back there, this is a dangerous point because anytime you're in the middle of the peloton, you're not going to be able to see when the cracks in the road are coming up. And if you are to get your tires in those cracks, it's going to make for a spectacular crash when we're talking about 50, 55 mile an hour speeds back there. So all the riders at this moment are in a dangerous predicament if something in the road should come up and catch one of the tires. Now, we're lucky it never happens, and as we start going into the beginning of the final climb with 13 kilometers to go, Jumbo-Visma are in a full sprint doing 63 kilometers an hour. It's Rowan Dennis up there leading his GC guys into the climb to start it proper. I remember 2014 was the exact same scenario. We came into this climb blazing fast, and then a lot of the scenario was the same, where I thought about it and I thought, wow, there wasn't much reason to come into that climb so fast. And when we go back to the descent, I'll show you the picture of Marc Soler. He's at the back of the peloton there that's wide at the moment, and he's really relaxed and calm. That'll probably help him later on this climb, saving a little bit of energy there when all the other guys were fighting curb to curb on the descent before the climb starts proper. We get in the climb, and then it starts getting a little bit faster. But again, it's a big group back there in the peloton, talking 40, 50 riders. Up front in the breakaway, the 4 riders, as soon as the climb starts proper, the group blows up into pieces, and it's Mikel Biscar, the Escatel-Escudi rider, that's flying solo up the road with about a 30-second gap. Shortly after that, when the climb begins proper, we're going to see race leader Wittenberg. He's going to get dropped off quickly on the start of this climb, and his race lead here at Catalunya is at an end. As Wittenberg's going out the back with 11 kilometers to go, it's his teammate Vanden Abile that's attacking the group. Now he gets a good gap and bridges up to the last of the breakaway riders, Mikel Biscar, but Biscar does not have the fresh legs to be able to stay with Henry as Henry gets on the gas and drops the last of the breakaway riders. Now behind, there's another big attack, and it's coming from Ben O'Connor from AG2R. You guys should remember him from last year's Tour de France because he was 4th overall in general classification and won Stage 9 solo into teens. Was a fantastic Stage 9 victory last year in the Tour de France. And now the AG2R rider will catch Henry up front 1 kilometer after his attack and shortly dispose of Henry and start going solo on today's stage. Now he's got a 22 second gap up front. Behind, we see another bike exchange casualty because Simon Yates is sick too. As the cameras pull up next to Simon Yates, you can hear him coughing aggressively as he's dropping off the peloton, leaving his teammate up there, Howson as the sole bike exchange rider to get a result here on the general classification in Catalonia. Now, yesterday, I told you guys that they should have sent the whole team back here for Simon Yates, but we see the sickness is running through the team. It's a good thing they decided to take as many stage victories as they could with Stage 1 victory and Stage 2 victory, because with Simon Yates dropping out, I believe that's going to be the end of any chance on general classification. Now, behind in the peloton, when we're talking about who's going to start pulling next, the group is 35, 40 riders strong back there, but no teams will get to the front and really start setting a tempo. Archaic Samson did a little bit of work for Nairo Quintana, but he blows quickly after that. And then we start seeing a bunch of individual attacks. The first to go off is Juan Ayuso from UAE Team Emirates. That'll get brought back, and then it's Quickstep's Van Wilder that throws in the next attack, followed by Esteban Chavez from EF Education. He's brought back, and then it's Hugh Carthy from EF Education that does the immediate next attack. His attack will get brought back quickly, and then it's Skilmos Trek Segafredo. He went over the edge yesterday. He finished 10th on the stage yesterday, and now he's throwing in attack on all the GC favors here, trying to win Stage 3 for Trek Segafredo. That attack will get brought back, and up front, it's Ben O'Connor now with 4 kilometers to go. The cameraman focuses in on Ben O'Connor, and you can hear his breathing. It's maximum. He is grunting up there, trying to get every ounce of power into the pedals, and you can tell from the facial expression he is suffering now with 4 kilometers to go. He's been out there already for 4.5K, so you know the effort is starting to draw on the legs. Behind though, there's still no real organization back there in the peloton as more attacks start from G. Martin from Cofidis, and then with 2.5 kilometers to go, it's Marc Soler from UAE Team Emirates. Now, UAE Team Emirates had a bunch of riders in this group of 40, and they chose not to get on the front and start bringing back Ben O'Connor. But the time gap up to O'Connor at still 22 seconds only means that Soler still has a chance of bridging the gap and winning today's stage 3. Soler is digging hard up front. Ben O'Connor, as the climb starts to descend, he gets some more speed on the pedals, but the last 700 meters are going to be extremely hard on today's stage 3. Ben O'Connor's gap back there to Soler is dropping down to about 15 seconds, but Soler will blow. Ben O'Connor will come up over with 500 meters to go into the right turn, and he's still got a lead. With 400 meters to go, he starts looking back, and then with 300 meters to go, he's still looking back. 250, he's looking back. 75 meters, he's looking back. Now we know he's got the win. Poses up for a fantastic solo victory here for stage 3 at Catalunya. Now behind the group, never well organized, never with a group really chasing on the front. Movistar tried to do some efforts, it didn't work. Archaic Samsic did some time on the front for Nairo Quintana. It didn't work. Bike Exchange spent time on the front, but Simon Yates, he blew up at the finish. Finally, it's Trek Segafredo on the front, and they go into about 500 meters to go, and then we see the group curb to curb. That went that way all the way till it was Howson from Bike Exchange that throws in the first attack at about 450 meters to go. That's brought back, and then there's a sprint at the finish with Juan Ayuso finishing 6 seconds behind Ben O'Connor, and on his wheel, Nairo Quintana, the Colombian rider, sitting third on the stage to round out the podium. Very nice finishing of the stage, and a lot of drama the last 12 kilometers with teams refusing to really work proper on the front. When you do the math, when you look at a group of 40 riders with so many teams in there represented with multiple riders, even when you're talking Movistar, they rode all day. But still, at the finish of today's stage 3, they had 2 riders in that group. One was Alejandro Valverde, and never really completely selling out for Alejandro Valverde to give him a shot at winning the stage here in a sprint. Archaic Samsic tried to get on the front for Nairo Quintana, like I said. Trek Segafredo had multiple numbers, and you saw them eventually get to the front to try to do damage control on Ben O'Connor's time up front. But in general, when you look at EF Education, they never rode as a solid unit, always attacking one rider at a time, and then coming back. Now on stage 4, though, this really sets up a fantastic race for us on tomorrow's summit finish, the second summit finish here at Catalunya, because with the time gap still being so close, is Ben O'Connor a top quality climber? We know he was 4th at the Tour de France, but he hasn't done a whole lot here in 2022. When you look at his solo ride, though, you got to remember he was solo up there for 8.5 kilometers. And you got to remember, when tomorrow's stage starts, he's race leader. He's going to be 100% motivated. You know AG2R are going to ride the whole stage to give Ben O'Connor a chance of winning here at Catalunya. But all the other GC favorites, we still have Nairo Quintana up there. We still have the young rider Juan Ayuso from UAE Team Emirates, and he's got teammates with him in Almeida and multiple other riders back there for UAE Team Emirates. So tomorrow's stage 4, we're going to see all the GC contenders still in with a chance at winning here at Catalunya. AG2R is going to have to do big efforts. Ben O'Connor is going to have to be on flying form again for back-to-back stages if he wants to win here at Catalunya. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. It was a great stage today. Catalunya has been way above my expectations on fantastic racing throughout these first 3 stages, and I believe tomorrow's going to be just as good. So like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next edition of The Butterfly Effect.